everyone, it's me, Alex X, and it's Friday! Little happy Friday wiggle dance in the truck. We made it, it's Friday. Hopefully you, like me, do not have to work tomorrow. I have now confirmed I don't have to work, so that's extra great. So I get to do like super cool things like sleep past 5 if my cat lets me, and figure out why one of my bathroom sinks isn't draining quickly, and probably paint some baseboards. So like, what I'm trying to say is that adult life is incredibly exciting. So today, I want to not talk about what a giant festering piece of shit Roy Moore is, and what giant festering pieces of shit every Republican who votes for him are, because we already know that there are a bunch of giant festering pieces of shit, because how many women came out and accused Donald Trump of sexually assaulting them, and he still got a ton of votes because people are giant festering pieces of shit. So thanks everyone who's reminded me that humans are terrible this morning, but instead it's Friday, so I'm gonna be happy because it's Friday and not talk about that anymore, because I'm just gonna make myself angrier and lose even more faith in humanity, which is like not a thing I need to do. And instead I'm going to talk about the other thing I did today. Is I went and it was my 3 months, so I went in and got another Depo shot, and I just want to sing the praises of Depo. And you know, I was kind of hesitant about like, oh, should I talk about this? But then I was like, wait a second, this is my vlog, and so I can talk about whatever the hell I want. And I've also been coming back to it more and more lately, is that people who have periods don't talk about them nearly enough, and I think that's kind of an issue because it's treated as some kind of like icky, gross, shameful, don't talk about it, it's dirty subject, and that's really not good. And of course, you know, like some douche bro always shows up and is like, gross, I don't want to think about like blood coming out of, you know what, my wherever is not for you anyway, and you're not invited, so move along. So if you don't want to, you know, have some period talk, like, happy Friday, I'll talk to you later. If you do, if you are a person who has periods who would like to know what's going on, welcome. And if you're a person who doesn't have periods, but you would like to learn more so that you can interact more effectively with the person in your life who has periods, good on you for not being a squeamish little whiny bitch. So, anyway, I got on Depo, and so for a long time, I'd actually been on the pill, and from the pill, I went on to the IUD, and there were a couple of reasons I did the IUD, and I'm not going to claim that they were really great reasons. It was mostly, like, I looked into it at first just because I had lost my job, and I didn't want to have, like, a monthly payment for birth control pills, because these were the days before Obamacare, the dark ages, and it was like, oh, if I just get an IUD, then it's done, and I don't have to pay anything else for, like, 10 years, which is nice. I mean, it's still true if you get kind of like just the regular copper one, which is all I wanted. And then the actual, like, when I tried to do it that time, the doctor I had was like, oh, but you are a person with a uterus who is under a certain age, and therefore you might want to have babies, and this IUD might ever so slightly hurt your chances of having babies, therefore I'm going to get all patriarchal on you and be like, no, you don't know what you're asking for and you can't have it, which was like, really? And then so that was that, and then thankfully I got another job and I got health insurance, and so I went back on the pill. But like, after that, I actually went through this time in my life where I lost like a shit ton of weight, and that was kind of like my big project. And I'm not saying that in itself was bad, because it you know, it was something that I needed to do, and I definitely don't regret it, but it hit a certain point where it stopped being about like, I'm gonna have this weight loss project so that I feel healthier, and became like super obsessed about like, you know, the number it was at, and ooh, I need to get it lower. And it was real at that point it got really unhealthy, and like that, I don't want that to be the focus of what I'm going to talk about today. I'm just kind of explaining why I went and got an IUD after all. So, and I can talk about that some other time. So I went, oh, well, if I drop off of the pill, because the pill, you can sometimes gain a little weight on the pill. I was like, oh, well, I'll drop off the pill and I'll get an IUD, and that way I can get rid of some more of this weight, which I don't even know if that actually worked, and it doesn't matter. But I ended up getting an IUD because my doctor at that point was a different one and was way cooler, apparently. So I went back to, after many, many years, having periods that were basically like normal for me, or probably normal to a little heavier, because the IUD will tend to do that. And, you know, having a fairly permanent form of birth control that you don't have to pay for every month, that you know, you can't lose or whatever, because if it just like falls out, there's a problem. Like, that part is cool, but what was really uncool was, you know, I suddenly like went to having like periods that would last 6 to 8 days out of every 28, and like horrifically bad cramps. You know, like, we're talking 2 to 3 days of just feeling like there's randomly somebody jabbing a ice pick into your junk, which is not great. That's not a great way to live. And really like lots of clots and like heavy flow, and you know, it's super awesome like when you're on a construction site and you bleed through like your massive pad that's already like a mattress, and then it just like goes through all your clothes. And by awesome, I mean it's really awful and incredibly embarrassing. So I kind of kept going for a while, and then I was like, why am I doing this to myself? You know, sorry, there's this piece of hair here and it's just like doing its own thing. It's my horn. But I was like, why am I doing this to myself actually? And I realized that I was doing this because I was just still so like about, but if I get on Depo, I might like gain a little weight, and you know, so and I was just like, why am I so obsessed with this that I'm willing to make myself completely miserable for 25% of my time? Because we're talking, you know, like 1 week out of every 4 weeks. So, and then I mean, I will also note that I do have a valid reason for being concerned about weight gain, and it mostly has to do with the fact that I would like to be able to keep fitting into my nice clothes because I can't afford to replace them. But that is like a different topic, and that is a thing for me to figure out. So I was just like, okay, you know what, fuck the IUD. And I was like, oh, well, I could go back on the pill. And then I went, wait, I've heard about this magical Depo thing, so I might not ever have to have a period at all, which would be amazing because I hate my period and it makes me miserable. And plus there's just like some, you know, kind of like psychological stuff going on there that is not something we need to get into either, where I would just be a lot happier if I didn't have one. So I was like, okay, let's go. Sorry about the hand there, but I'm not going to edit this because fuck editing. I'm not going to go down that dark path because then forever shall it dominate my destiny. So I talked to my doctor and she was like, oh yeah, you're a great candidate for Depo. And just, you know, yanked out the IUD. They actually joked about yanking it out, and then they were like, no, we're just joking. It's cool. And I was like, okay. And gave me my first round of Depo. And the first month after I got the shot, I was like all ready to just be like, sayonara, period. And I had one, but it only lasted for like 3 days and barely existed. So I kind of did some research, and I was like, oh, this might keep going like this for 6 months or forever. But you know, if it's like this, it's fine. This is like nothing. You know, no cramps, just like a little like, and then, you know, for 3 days, that's still magical compared to what I was dealing with. But then after that, it just stopped completely. And it has been just the greatest thing in my life. Now, the weird part that I've noticed is that I still PMS, like a little, like, in my particular, because everyone's experience is different, like your period experience is going to be different, but it's good to compare notes. That's why I'm recording this. So for me, like, you know, about the week leading up to when I should be having my period, or when I had my period back when I, was having the IUD and all that. Like, I get really super bad indigestion, which sucks. I can't take a shit worth a damn, which sucks more than you would realize. Like, apparently I've become a person of a certain age where I care extremely deeply about my bowel movements, and I have like 1 or 2 days where I get super depressed. Like, I'm sitting there and I'm just like, why do I bother doing anything? I'm the worst. I'm as a writer, I'm a failure. Why do I bother? I kind of, the reason I figured out that I'm still kind of like have the PMS even though I don't have the bleeding, which is still amazing because the PMS takes up less of my life than PMS plus spurting blood out of my junk. It was because after that first month when I had the period, then I didn't have one, but I was like, God, I was feeling so down for a couple of days, and I was like, this is just not normal for me. And I still have a period tracker app, and I looked at it and I was like, oh, okay, so it's that time. Damn it, I need to stop grabbing things with my left hand, sorry. And so now I can still kind of track, like, oh, well, I technically should be having my period at this point because, I can't eat Indian food, and I sort of want to throw myself off a bridge for about a hot second because I think that everything I do is worthless. And then I'm like, oh, it's the hormones telling my brain everything is terrible. So that has been the other thing I've noticed. So it's like no period, but you still get the PMS, which is not really a bad deal. I mean, I'll take it. It's been a lot more pleasant. So that's kind of been my experience. If you're someone who can try Depo, because it definitely does not work for everyone. Like, I had a friend who tried it and she had like migraines for 3 months straight until it wore off, and she was like, no, I can't do this. I knew someone else that tried it, and they just basically bled for 3 months straight, which was also really not great. So it is not for everyone, but it is definitely worth trying. If you're a good candidate, like, talk to your doctor about it. Apparently I'm going to be like a little, advertisement for Depo, because just not having your period is amazing. So on that happy note, happy Friday. Have a good weekend. I'll talk to you next week.